Hi folks, today's lesson is on the proper use of pronouns in writing. It is important that we know well how pronouns work, whether we are speaking or writing. Pronouns, if not used correctly, cause the sentences to mean something different than intended. Because you are college students, it is so very important for you to learn to use them properly, especially while writing academic essays. Academic language demands grammatical accuracy as well as the proper uses. Before I jump into the lesson, let's try to see what happens if we do not use pronouns at all. Then we will go over their types, functions, and ambiguities that come up if we do not use pronouns properly in our writing. Here is the opening paragraph of the short story, Slowly, Slowly in the Wind, written by Patricia Highsmith. Edward Skip spent most of Edward Skip's life feeling angry. When Edward Skip was a boy, Edward Skip had a bad temper. Now, as a man, Edward Skip was impatient with people who were slow or stupid. Edward Skip often met such people in Edward Skip's work, which was to give advice on managing companies. Edward Skip was good at Edward Skip's job. Edward Skip could see when people were doing something the wrong way. And Edward Skip told the people in a loud, clear voice how to do something better. The company directors always followed Edward Skip's advice. Okay, I believe you do not laugh the way I read it. Did you notice something crazy here? I'm sure I did. Edward Skip, and Edward Skip repeated 12 times. The first time Edward Skip is the introduction of the character, and all other times we have Edward Skip repeated 11 more times. I'm sure it sounds weird. It doesn't have to be that way. And this is what happens if we do not use pronouns. Repetitions within this small piece 12 times is certainly annoying. Edward Skip is a singular third-person noun, and because there is no other singular noun in the passage besides him, we do not have to repeat his full name. In normal writing or in normal conversations, we would use he or his, and that would give a normal tone. So this shows how pronouns function and how important they are. And here is the original story, Slowly, Slowly in the Wind. Edward Skip spent most of his life feeling angry. When he was a boy, he had a bad temper. So Edward Skip does not repeat anymore. The word Edward Skip is replaced by pronouns, he and his, for the rest of the story. This is what pronouns do. They represent the noun so that you do not have to repeat it more than once, as long as there is only one character. You can read the rest of the story here. Pronouns can be complicated when multiple characters appear in the narrative, and that might create ambiguities in different levels. We'll discuss that later. First of all, let's understand the simple rules and their examples. Pronouns are used in place of nouns, but while doing so, we have to make sure that they agree with the number, person, and gender of the nouns they refer to. This is how they change their forms, and this is how we need to determine where they need to be placed in a sentence. Here, this shows the number, gender, and person of the pronouns we use most frequently. I is the first person singular pronoun. You is the second person singular pronoun. He, she, and it are third-person singular pronouns. Here, he and she are the only pronouns that denote gender, and they is common to them all, he and she and it. And they is the third-person plural pronoun. We comes from I, is the first-person plural pronoun, and you is you again, which is the second person plural pronoun, because you could be many people at the same time. Let's look at some simple examples to see how these pronouns are used in sentences. We have the first sentence here. John was angry with me. John is a noun. The sentence that follows this needs a pronoun. And because John is a third person singular male pronoun, so we can say, he did not speak to me for weeks. We do not want she, and we do not want they here. So when we use he refers to John. In this third sentence here, John and Mary were angry with me. He, she, they did not speak to me for weeks. John and Mary are two people, that's plural, so we have to use they that refers to John and Mary. And now finally, here's the situation where two characters are used, male and female at the same time, within the same context. Mary called me after a month. She sounded very cynical. John also called me after I talked to her, but he did not sound cynical. We are referring to Mary by using she, and we're using he for John because of their gender. This is just a simple example of how we have to pick pronouns depending on the number, singular or plural, and gender and person of the nouns they refer to. And we can have plenty of such examples. Now let's learn about the case system of pronouns. Pronouns can be categorized as subject, object, and possessives depending on their placement and functionalities in a sentence. This is called the case system in the English grammar. The root of the cases is the subject case. For example, for the root pronoun I, the subject case is I. This I changes to me in the object case, and it becomes my and mine in the possessive cases, which depends on where they are placed and what they are there for. In the subject case, the pronoun is the doer of the action that takes place in the sentence. And in the object case, the action is done upon the pronoun. Here we can see subject cases such as I, he, she change to me, him, her in the object case, which means how they are supposed to function in a sentence. And they have their corresponding possessives, which are my, his, her, and so on. I have split possessives into two as possessive 1 and possessive 2. Possessive 1 is actually possessive adjectives because my, his, and her function as adjectives in a sentence. And possessive 2 means possessive pronouns such as mine, his, and hers, because they replace their nouns as a whole. I think it's better to see these cases in sentences, in actual sentences, and to understand how they function and where they are placed. Let's look at some examples. Here's again a small snapshot from Slowly, Slowly in the Wind. Some sentences that will show how cases work. Let me read it. Maggie was moved from her private school in New York to one in Switzerland. She would come home for the holidays. Skip did stop smoking and drinking. When he decided to do something, he always did it immediately. There was work for him on the farm. Here we can see that there are two characters, Maggie and Skip. Their names are mentioned here only once. And then for all other places, we have their pronouns. These pronouns correspond to their names. Here, her private school means Maggie's private school. Her is a possessive case. And she would come home for the holidays. Here, she is the subject case. And she represents Maggie here as a pronoun. So Maggie doesn't have to be repeated twice. We also see he, the subject case, and him, the object case, that correspond to Skip. And It here in this sentence corresponds to something as an object case. So we can see that in this small piece here, there are at least 6 pronouns for 3 nouns, 2 for each of them. Let me give you some examples, small examples of how pronouns and their cases work in sentences in the real context. John is a high school teacher. He goes to his school at 9 in the morning and comes home at 5 in the evening. Mary works for the police department. She works in the afternoon. Now, because I have already introduced John and Mary in the sentences, so I can go and say they have been married for 10 years. So they refers to John and Mary. I went to their house last weekend to see them. We had dinner together and we watched a movie. Then they showed me their huge backyard and asked me about my backyard. I told them that mine is smaller than theirs. So in these sentences, we can see the subject pronouns as he, she, and they. It looks like we have only one object pronoun, them. And then plenty of possessives, such as his school, their house, my backyard, their huge backyard. These are possessive adjectives. And we also have possessive pronouns such as mine and theirs at the end of the passage. Here's a small practice for you to find which cases are appropriate in these situations. After Nora finished she or her or hers dinner, she or her or hers watched the movie. Pick the right choice. Attempt 2, 3, and 4 the same way. Now, there are some complicated situations where simple rules do not seem to work, and we might be confused as to which pronoun to use. Some examples are such as in compound subjects. Compound subjects are 2 or more words, phrases, or clauses joined by and, or, nor, etc. Here are some situations. If a noun is preceded by each and or every, use a singular pronoun. Here's a sentence. Every dog and each cat must be given its food twice daily. We do not want to use there here. This is a noun phrase, but this is a singular noun phrase, even though it might look like a plural noun phrase. Similarly, use singular pronouns for either or neither nor. Neither the dog nor the cat should be given its food twice daily. We do not want to use there here. In the case of gender-neutral nouns, such as teacher, lawyer, doctor, they used to have gender in the past, but now not anymore. We want to use the gender-neutral pronoun, not he or she, but they or their. For example, the teacher asked their last question to the student. We don't know the teacher is a male or a female. The lawyer debated their case in the court. We do not know if the lawyer is a male or a female. Sometimes ambiguities may occur because we do not know what the pronoun refers to. Here's an example. When she put the heavy TV set on the table, it cracked and broke. This is a conditional sentence, and there are 2 clauses in the sentence. The second part of the sentence is the independent clause. And there is a pronoun here, it. It cracked and broke. What does it refer to? The TV set or the table? In such situations, maybe we do not want to use any pronoun to avoid ambiguity. So we can choose to have 2 options. When she put the TV set on the table, the TV set cracked and broke. Or we can say when she put the TV set on the table cracked and broke. So this was a short lesson on the proper use of pronouns in writing. So we saw in the video how we need to pick pronouns depending on the number, gender, and person of the nouns they refer to, and how they function and change their forms depending on the subject, object, and possessive cases. Besides, there are some complicated situations where ambiguities may occur, and in such situations, we have to follow the appropriate uses. I hope this lesson was useful to you. So finally, let us remember that grammatical accuracy is minimally expected in academic writing, and for that, we need to continue practicing the rules and the uses. There are plenty of websites sponsored by the writing centers and academic institutions, and one of them I recommend is OWL at Purdue. Here are some sentences for you to practice. And thanks for watching.